Hello, welcome again to Varsity Sports Live. Tom Neiman along with Jason and Dara. Jody Norstedt is standing by in West Fargo with all of tonight's North Dakota scores and highlights. Couple of things, Jandy. We're just talking about there's homecomings going on. We're almost halfway through the season.
We are for some schools, you're right.
The other thing is lots of people dealing with a lot of stuff right now. The tornado in Sioux Falls, the flooding all over South Dakota, eastern South Dakota. So hopefully tonight football could kind of give people a little joy in all that misery right now.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of perspective, obviously, and I think sports really helps those communities gel together. But the communities have been gelling together, just supporting each other with food and help and, hotels and whatever they need to do to get things going, and always good to see that.
Some games got moved around, and some games got moved to Monday, as a matter of fact. We'll talk about those in a minute. Let's get to the scoreboard tonight in South Dakota. And these games are on Saturday. A lot of the big schools in South Dakota playing on Saturday. The President's Bowl, game one there is Roosevelt and O'Gorman. Jandy will have a preview of that one coming up a little later on tonight. Brandon Valley plays at home on Saturday against Aberdeen Central. Both those teams are 1-1 right now. Rapid City Stevens will be at Harrisburg on Saturday evening. Harrisburg is 2-0 right now. And then the second game of the President's Bowl is Sioux Falls Lincoln and Sioux Falls Washington.
Yeah, so all top 5 teams in AAA are playing on Saturday. And I'm kind of looking forward to that Tiger Bowl, too. I mean, I'm going to be at the President's Bowl, but that Tiger Bowl is going to have some great athletes.
All right, games tonight. Watertown gets its first win of the year. Beat Rapid City Central 21-14 in Watertown. Here, we'll take a look at this game, a quick peek at it. It was 63-0 at halftime, and Pierre beats Yankton 63-zip. Huge night for Garrett Stout, the Pierre Governors quarterback. Brookings is 3-0. They go to Sturgis tonight, win 28-14. Brookings will host Madison coming up next week. Mitchell on the road out at Spearfish. This game was 3-3 at halftime, but Parker Phillips had 226 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game for Mitchell.
Yeah, these AA games, I mean, you look at these scores right here, and anybody can play with anybody. It doesn't matter what that little number next to your name means.
Colonels get to 2-1 with that win tonight. Huron is 2-1 as well. Tigers on the road at Douglas, and Huron wins that one 30-0. In 11A, T Area and West Central, 21-0 there, so T Area gets to 3-0 on the season.
I'll talk about the T defense. I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, Madison beat Del Rapids tonight. That should be Del Rapids and Madison. We'll have some highlights of that game coming up in a bit, but Del's beat Madison tonight 14-13. Tri-Valley in the game we had here on Midco Sports Network over Vermilion 20-7. Back on track here, Beresford knocks off Sioux Falls Christian tonight, James.
How about that? This is not one I expected. Beresford's been dealing with some injuries, and they came out tonight on the road against Sioux Falls Christian, and they served up some points.
Christian had to come back in this game. They had a Hail Mary shot into the end zone, but Beresford hangs on and wins it 21-18. Bridgewater, Emory, Ethan, they moved this game to Mitchell, and Bridgewater, Emory, Ethan pulls away to beat Mount Vernon Plankerton 21-8.
Still in the fourth quarter, I believe. They were down. Mount Vernon Plankerton was winning this game, just coming out of halftime, 8-7, and then Bridgewater Emory Ethan really put it into high gear.
Yeah, scoreless at the half there, and Bridgewater Emory Ethan will make sure that's a final coming up. Parkston and Bonham, they had to move this game to Monday night. They are going to play it in Tyndall, but number 1 Bonham in 9AA. They'll play this game Monday night at Bottom's home field. Viborg-hurley in 9AA over Baltic tonight, 46-12. Viborg-hurley is 3-0. Sully Buttes gets to 4-0 tonight, Jandy, 46-8 over Harriet-Selby. Your guy Nick Whitler, 4 touchdown runs and a touchdown pass in that one for Sully Buttes.
I'll tell you what, he came in, I think, what did we count? 17 touchdowns coming into the night and added 4 more.
22 touchdowns in 4 games so far for Nick Whitler for Sully Buttes. Canastota Freeman got a couple of touchdowns from Bailey Sage as they get to 4-0. Canastota Freeman 22-0 over Howard tonight. Coleman Egan is 4-0 as well, on top of DeSmet 34-12 this evening was the final there. And you know who else is good right now? Gregory beat Woolsey-Wessing tonight. Gregory is 4-0.
Yeah, Gregory hasn't been getting a lot of votes in the polls, and this is a good team that's really come together. And Woolsey-Wessington last week only lost by 1 point to number 1 Bonham. So I think we can make a case for Gregory.
All right, highlights coming up from South Dakota. Let's get to North Dakota and the finals tonight. West Fargo Cheyenne is 3-0. The Mustangs over Grand Forks Red River 35-14. Fargo South, I believe this has gone final now. South is 3-0. They were ahead 26-9 at halftime. Shanley came back in the second half, 26-23 the final there though. Jody's got highlights of that one coming up. Fargo Davies is 2-1. Davies over Grand Forks Central 48-0. West Fargo gets its first win. Packers over Fargo North 34-0. Bismarck gets his first win of the year, 28-14 tonight over Williston. Minot and Mandan, that game was late in the fourth quarter, 18-14, and Jody will have an update on that one coming up in a couple of minutes. Jamestown knocks off Dickinson 22-21, second win of the season for the Blue Jays. Legacy and Century will play on Saturday in Bismarck. Bismarck Century, the number one team in the big schools right now in North Dakota. In 2A in North Dakota, Hillsboro Central Valley, number one team, beat Bismarck St. Mary's tonight, 20-7. So Hillsboro's 3-0.
That's a huge win for them. St. Mary's lost coming out of the chute to Shanley, but we kind of thought they might turn it back on. Well, Hillsboro-CV is making a name in Class 2A.
Kindred is 3-0 after a win over Hazen tonight, 36-7. Also in 2A, Beulah is 3-0. Miners over Wapita tonight, 42-14. Turtle Mountain gets its first win of the year in 2A, 28-13 tonight over the Squirrels. In Class A in North Dakota, Oaks finally against Thompson, its first loss of the year, 37-14 there. New Salem-Glen Ullen gets to 4-0. A win over Dickinson Trinity tonight. Langdon, Edmore Munich 4-0, as well as the Cardinals beat up on Rugby 40-6. Velva is 3-0 on the season, 52-8 tonight over Garrison Max. And in 9-man football in North Dakota, some of the teams doing well there. Cavalier is 4-0 now. A win over North Prairie. That game is not quite final yet. It's in the third quarter there, but Cavalier looking good at 30-14. Finley Sharon Hope Page is FSHP as they knock off Mayport CG tonight. 34.
That's the biggest surprise I've seen so far in North Dakota.
To 14. Highlights coming up for that one with Jody. And there's a score. We didn't have that one, but we do now. Lemoore Litchville Marion gets to 4-0, 32-0 tonight in their ball game. And Kidder County over Napoleon-G-S. Streetel.
Easy for me to say.
50-0 in that one. So, South Dakota highlights coming up in a bit, but let's get up to West Fargo and our Midco Sports Network studio there. Jody Norstedt is settling in, I believe. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm pretty well. It was sloppy. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys about rain down in South Dakota. You guys are dealing with some serious stuff, but sloppy throughout yesterday and then this morning, but it cleared up. Had a really nice night of high school football and had some big matchups too, guys. But anyways, I'll just go on because you guys don't want to talk and they just shut your mics off. So let's roll. Let's take a look at Minot's highlights as we get ready. We'll get to Fargo South and Shanley in a bit, Red River, and a big one with Cheyenne. But we'll start with Mandan and Minot in the Magicians finally opening that magic carpet, the new turf, and Elijah Klein. Well, he likes opening up new things. Nice catch over the defense. Mandan gets down to the goal line. The Braves go with big personnel. QB Dane Carlson gives it to Austin Fry, and he barrels into the end zone. First score of the night. Running back Peyton Filion took over for Minot as their next drive would bleed into the second quarter. Powerful running will keep the maroon and gold running. Red zone time for the Magi. Jackson Gunville finds who else? Filion run into the pylon for the touchdown pass, tying the game. Let's take a look at the funnel on this one. Is Mandan actually comes back and wins this one, 18-14. The Braves improve to 2-1. They get Bismarck next week. Speaking of the defending state champs from Bismarck, hoping some home cooking would lead to their first win. First, actually, we're going to go to Red River in Cheyenne. We promised you. Red River coming off that emotional win over Bismarck High. But first quarter, Grant Workington connects on the deep ball with Tyler Gerhardt for Cheyenne, but the Rough Riders end up punching it out inside the 5-yard line. So a heartbreaker. First play of the second quarter, Monet, our game ball winner last week, Parker to Bryce Enerson down the sideline and ends up going 85 yards to the house. Is Parker Monet making a bid for 2 game balls in a row? We'll see. After the Red River kickoff, the Mustangs waste no time in striking back as Zach Rogers burst into the end zone for 6. Red River 7, Cheyenne 6. Late in the first half, Monet takes the QB sneak up the middle for 7 more, putting the Riders up 8 at the half. So Red River trying to pull a stunner over the second-ranked team in the state. The Mustangs score first out of the half as Barika Penu muscles his way across the goal line with 3 minutes left in the third. And the game is knotted at 14 after the 2-pointer. Next possession, Workentine runs an option, pitches out to Colby Angeles, who, boom, right into your face and right into your living room. He scores 20-14. 4 minutes left in the game. Penu gets the handoff and puts this game away. A 40-yard touchdown is the nail in the coffin for the Rough Riders. Cheyenne goes up 14, and they go on to win it 35-14. So after a scare, the Mustangs survive with a big win to improve to 3-0.
It's what we work in practice for. It was just not going through the motions. Every single play, never taking it for granted. So being a part of it was amazing. The first half, we were on the edge, but like at second half, we got things together and we got the team win.
Well, let's take a look now to the defending champs from Bismarck, hoping some home cooking will lead to their first win as they take on pass-happy Williston Coyotes off to their best starts in 2006. We start the first with the Demons down by 7. Cade Rolfs goes to the air, but it's incomplete. Turnover on down. Saints score in the second. The Coyotes drop back at the pass. Bounces off Denver Sheets and right into the hands of Gunnar Swanson. Swanson taking it back on the interception. Big turnover. The Demons would eventually tie things up at 7-all. We still have a tie ball game in the second as Rolfs will drop a dime to Nick Haynes, who's going to jog into the end zone. The Demons in search of their first win of the season. They take their first lead of the game, and they do get their first win of the season. They pick up the victory 28-14. They avoid their first 0-3 start. It would have been since 1979, but right now, that's just history. They get to play at Mandan next week. Williston with a toughie at Century. Who's the best in Double-A? Hillsboro, Central Valley, and St. Mary's sorting that out on the field. The Burros outscored their first 2 opponents 93-6 after moving back to 2A, but the Saints are a different beast, and they get an interception here. Joseph Pressler. It was all turnovers early. St. Mary's under pressure. Drew Dosh is going to throw it up. Bad decision, intercepted by Ezra Longthorne. The home crowd loving that. Hillsboro-CV rolls from there. The camera's fooled, and well, so is the Saints defense here. Longthorne takes it to the house, and the Burros take a 6-0 lead. You just gotta love the white jerseys when it's muddy out, don't you? Mom's got some laundry to do. The Burros keep the offense humming along. Micah Gallagher scrambling from his QB position, 53 yards as he turns on the burners, doesn't reach the end zone. But moments later, it's Isaac Luthley running behind the strong O-line to make it 12-0 Burros. That was the lead at half, and the Burros hold off the Saints. But the Saints make it interesting. Late third, St. Mary's at the 5, but they turn it over on the exchange in the backfield. Gavin Wright on the recovery. Burros don't turn it into points. And on the next possession, St. Mary's makes it interesting. Cullen Curl scores on the run right to the camera, makes it 12-7. But HCV punches right back with a really long drive. I'm talking 7-8 minutes, and Gallagher finishes it on the keeper. Hillsboro Central Valley. How about that for a big win? 20-7, the Burros prevail over the Saints. Let's take a look at Kindred taking on Hazen. How about a second top 5 battle in Class 2A? 2-0 Hazen making that 4-hour trek to Kindred. Gunnar Brodden, well, he was the homecoming king for the Vikings, and he was also the king on the field. He jukes, jives, and spins away from the Bison on this 10-yard scamper. Kindred up 7-zip. Gunnar was starting the homecoming dance early. 3 minutes later, he's at it again. Number 7 showing off his speed as he gets to the edge, sprints down the sidelines 36 yards. It's 14-zip. Early in the second, Kindred tacks on another. Caden Olson flips it to Dawson Schaefer, who slips through some tackles for the 21-0 lead. The kids love it in the end zone here. Watch this. Now, every kid likes being on camera. Get them some sugar. Hopefully they stay up late for the show. Want to see a textbook tackle? There you go. Brock Raisler driving through Brandon Snyder. More defense. Hazen's Isaac Dahl scored a passing, rushing, and throwing touchdown last week, but this is more bad news for the Bisons. It's intercepted by Andrew Fryer. That's one big interception, but Hazen gets another just before halftime, and it's wacky. The ball bouncing around, and Tyson Vanningwagen makes a diving interception. The ball Well, it hit the grass, but the refs rule it an interception, so a big play for him. Kindred had no trouble tonight. The homecoming king reigns supreme. They win the top 5 bout 36-7. Gunnar Broughton with a huge game, 3 touchdown runs and a pick in the victory. No love lost between these two programs. The last 2 seasons for Oaks have ended in Thompson in the 9-man playoffs. Tonight, second-ranked Tornadoes hoping to exact revenge on the 5th-ranked Tommies on their own turf. Oaks scores first. Mark Sire does a disappearing act into the end zone. 2-point conversion good. Oaks up 8-0. A couple minutes later, Thompson answers a 29-yard dime from Clay Odenbach to Jacob Dick. 2-pointer good. And we're at 8. Oaks wanted to show that they can throw the ball to Garrett Meal. He has a pretty good arm. And Ashton Biesterfeld hooked up for a 30-yard connection. Boy, all this happening right in front of our camera. Our intern deserves a raise. 16-8 Tornadoes in front. Thompson proves they can get the ball down the field quick as Odenbach throws it into triple coverage. But when you have a guy like Chance Danner, boy, he mosses all 3 defenders. 36-yard gain. After a couple of pass interference calls, the Tommies have the ball in 4th and goal, and Odenbach-Danner connection. Good again, but the Tommies 2-pointer no good, so the Tornadoes lead at 16-14. That would be Thompson's last score as Oaks goes on to hammer them in the second half. 37-14. Those are 2 outstanding teams. Look for more of them later in the season. How about another former 9-man power looking to move to 4-0? New Salem-Glen looking for respect after not receiving any votes in the latest poll. They get Trinity. Gunnar Remble fumbles on the opening drive inside the red zone, recovered by Trinity Jacob Kessel. Trinity, Matt Stafford, he's going to intercept the Holsteins. Gunnar Remble in the end zone on New Salem's second possession. Here he goes. This is Dawson Zuroff to the end zone. 8-0 Zuroff. Boy, that last name, doesn't that sound familiar? Braden Zuroff with the Bison now. Gunnar Remble, he scores now, and all of a sudden it's 14-0. Trinity trying to fight its way back into it. Jake Daniel going to pass this one up to Matt Stafford. No, not the Lions quarterback, the Trinity wide receiver. He hauls it in. 14-7 is the lead. New Salem adds a 4th quarter touchdown, and the Holsteins going to win 22-7. They are now 4-0, and boy, it sets up a dandy of a matchup against Shiloh Christian next week, 2 old rivals. To 9-man, Kidder County and Napoleon-Gackle Street are off to slow starts, but hoping they could use this game as a springboard. The Wolves starting things off, Jonah Harder. That's not right. There we go. Jonah Harder going to hand off to Parker Hager on the 40-yard line. He stiff arms the defender, and look at him dash all the way to the end zone. Wolves up 16-0. The Wolfpack was howling tonight. Shortly after that, Wolves at it again. Same story. Harder to Hager for the touchdown. He makes it for their 3rd score. Second quarter, Imperials ball. They go up in the air, and the Imperials go into the air, and the Wolves are just camping out. Peyton Cawthon, Imperials couldn't do anything right. The Wolves could do nothing wrong. The final score indicates it 50-0. Kidder County will be after that Beach team next week, way out west, as they take on the Buccaneers. We'll try to get you highlights of that big game between South and Shanley. That one got over, guys, at like about 10:25, but South does prevail in what was a real nail-biter down the stretch after having a pretty good lead at halftime. But a couple of interesting outcomes. Red River made things interesting against Cheyenne, but Cheyenne comes out on the winning end. Bismarck gets its first win, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Century is taking on Legacy in what should be a good game of Saturday football. And how about Hillsboro-Central Valley? That is a massive win for them over St. Mary's, who is now 1-2 on the season. Of course, they had that loss to a 3A school in Shanley to open the year. But in the third block in our zone coverage, we promise we'll have that Big South versus Shanley game.
I think you're right, Jody. That Hillsboro-Central Valley game, that one surprised me the most out of anything. I don't know, but if surprise is the right word, though. They're pretty good.
And you know who you didn't see in the end zone, and I haven't gotten clarification if he played or not, but Oscar Benson. He wasn't in any of our highlights, so I'm interested to see what was up there with number 11.
Decoy.
All right, Joe.
Maybe.
Appreciate it. We'll see you in about 15 minutes or so with that Shanley South, those highlights and some more post-game from the coaches in North Dakota tonight. All right, when we come back, we will get to the South Dakota highlights of the night. A lot of the big schools off tonight playing Saturday. We're going to take a big tour of 11A and some 11AA. Highlights coming up.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Time for South Dakota highlights tonight. And again, a lot of the big schools in South Dakota will play on Saturday. Jandy's got a preview of the President's Bowl in Sioux Falls coming up here in a little bit. Tri-Valley and Vermilion. It's kind of interesting how teams go in cycles in some levels. Tri-Valley and Vermilion at one time were powerhouses in South Dakota high school football.
Vermilion dominated the 90s. Tri-Valley made it to the Dome about every year or every other year for a good 10-year period. And now they're both coming off of subpar seasons. Vermilion only had 3 wins last year, Tri-Valley with 1, but they got off on the right foot this year, including an undefeated start by Tri-Valley. Tri-Valley
at Vermilion tonight. Let's go to the Dakota Dome. Tri-Valley 2-0 coming into this game. Vermilion 1-1. And yeah, Tri-Valley just won its state championship as recently as 2011. So here you go, Jandy. You had the call with Curtis Riggs on this one tonight. I think that's Carson Norgard with the hit for Tri-Valley. Owen Besmer turns it into a scoop and score. 6-0 Tri-Valley out in the lead.
Really, turnovers were the problem in this game. Vermilion, they threw a couple away, but there's a look at Mohammed Ibrahim with the first offensive touchdown score. That put them up 13-0, and then more Tri-Valley defense. They deflected about 10 passes on the day, and they picked off 3 of them. So that was a rough day, and then they couldn't field the punts cleanly. They tried a fake punt here deep in their own territory. That didn't work on 4th down, and then Mason Matthew turned that short field into a 1-play drive and their 3rd touchdown of the day. That put them up by 3 scores, and from then on they salted it away with more defense. And again, up in their face. Oh, I'm sorry. They had one bright spot here.
This is Charlie Ward to Connor Saunders for Vermilion's lone touchdown of the night. Came in the 4th quarter, though. But
that's the one I thought it was. It was the comeback trail ended a little quickly for
You're right. A handful of turnovers forced by Tri-Valley in this one. They've got 2 really good running backs, too. Tri-Valley, you saw one of them, Ibrahim, and then Levi Hansen as well for Tri-Valley. They run it up tonight. And the Mustangs are off to a 3-0 start.
Yeah, they had a great start. Mason Matthew had a TD run. He didn't turn the ball over for Tri-Valley, and he got an interception on defense. So talk to him after the game.
Yeah, it does feel good. Last year we were just a really young team, didn't have a lot of experience out there, and we kind of lacked the leadership compared to this year. Like this year we have amazing senior leaders, and we're just carrying high on our shoulders.
So 11A is still pretty wide open, and for Tri-Valley to start out the year 3-0, hey, that's what they're supposed to do.
All right, Tri-Valley is at West Central coming up next week. And speaking of West Central, West Central at T-Area tonight in 11A. T-Area coming in at 2-0 after wins over Canton and Vermilion. Tyler Lundberg to Isaiah Cologne here for West Central. They're moving it. They move it inside the 5-yard line, but a fumble inside the 5-yard line kills that drive.
This T defense, probably a little underrated. I probably underrated them a little bit, but they've got so many playmakers. Hayden DeJean and TJ Parmley and all these guys making huge plays.
Look at the festive field at T tonight. That's Austin Lake. That's a 78-yard run, and he was down at the end of it there. And T goes 99 yards after that West Central turnover. Joey Hedrick finishes it off with a touchdown.
We kind of wondered who was going to be the playmakers for this T team, but I tell you what, Joey Hedrick has filled the bill quite nicely this year.
Late in the 3rd quarter here, Hedrick again to make it 14-0. This game was relatively close throughout, but the T defense gets a shutout.
You know, that was the difference to me, is the defense played by the T area Titans. I mean, a couple big plays for both teams.
This is JT Panning. He's listed as an offensive lineman. And
he doesn't get a lot of carries.
That was a 40-yard touchdown run. And T-Area, the number 1 team in 11A, gets to 3-0 with that win tonight.
Yeah, and Joey Hedrick has really took the ball, 15 rushes, 86 yards, and 2 big touchdowns. We heard from him right after the game.
It's really just all together. We all we do team bonding a lot. We're all hanging out. We're all friends, you know, and that's what's going to get us wins. Is us all bonding. We're not negative. We're always positive with each other.
You saw Hayden DeJean had 12 tackles there for T area. He's part of that really good defense that they've got this year.
They are really good, and they have a couple injuries where they don't even have their whole team out there on defense, but they have played outstanding. Shut down Vermilion last week. They really held Canton to nothing as far as what we expected from Caden Verley this year, and then to shut out West Central on top of it. I mean, now it's time to start to take notice. This defense is real.
All right, T's 3-0. They play at Pierre next week.
That's where it gets real.
Cross matchup, so we will find out then, but T is 3-0. All right, so in 9-man football tonight, Viborg-hurley at Baltic, and it's tough to get to Baltic right now because of all the water around, but everybody got out there. Good crowd shows up. Nice night. These teams have been killing people all season. Chase Mason to Shane Anderson there to get the Cougars out into the lead, and then Mason on a 5-yard touchdown run to make it 12-0.
Well, that was the deal in this game. We had a really athletic Viborg-hurley team. Baltic needed to slow the game down, chew up the clock, and they got a few good drives in.
Avery Nordby there with a touchdown run. It was a 12-7 game. And then Mason again makes it 18-7 Viborg-hurley.
Let's go!
And then third quarter here, Mason to Angel Johnson. Touchdown. And Viborg-hurley pulls away from there. Mason had another score after that. 46-12 is the final. So the Cougars are 3-0. They outscored the first two teams they played 106-6, J&D, and now 46-12 here tonight.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a really fun team to watch. Viborg-hurley, with this win right here over the number 3 team, what they did, I mean, they're going to get some first place votes coming into next week in 9AA because Bonhomme has won, but they've won 3 really close games. I think people are looking at this Viborg-hurley team as maybe the team to beat in 9AA.
All right, go Cougars. 11A. Oh, we got some sound from this one.
Obviously, we knew it was going to be a tough game for both teams. It was obviously going to be a dogfight in the first half. We came out, not the greatest half we had. It was 12-18. Second half, we said we got to come out harder than they could, and we just wore them down and just kept on scoring on them with our speed, and all we had just kept on going right back at them, and it showed on the scoreboard.
All right, they are looking good. You get to know some of these parents and these players.
Yeah,
and they hear your predictions, and
hopefully it fires them up. Now, I did have Viborg-hurley as one of the top teams. I didn't have them at number 1, and maybe now I should.
All right, we will see. Viborg-hurley undefeated so far in the season. In 11B tonight in Sioux Falls, Beresford and Sioux Falls Christian. Christian 2-0. Beat Mitchell last week. Beresford comes in at 1-2, but they had a couple close losses. And this is Bradley Christensen to Will Kuiper, and Beresford out in the lead, 6-0. Sioux Falls Christian had a couple early fumbles, but they stopped Beresford from going in there to keep it a 6-0 game. And I think we got a little out of order here on the highlights, but this is Jackson Hogan, a touchdown run for Sioux Falls Christian that made it 14-6. But back up a little bit before that, Christensen evading those very athletic defenders for Sioux Falls Christian, and Christensen picks up 15 yards there, and then he will hook it up on a touchdown pass here, buying some more time.
Yeah, Brad Christensen really ran the offense well. He even ran, but he can throw the ball too, and the guy isn't super tall, can't see over the line, but he can find these big receivers, and it surprised me a little bit how well the passing game went tonight.
So it was 14-6. Christensen there to Nate Krapinski to make it 21-6, and despite all the turnovers, Sioux Falls Christian came back, scored twice in the final 6 minutes. John Overby with a couple of touchdown passes, one to Noah Van Steedem, one to Zach Whitty to make it 21-18. Sioux Falls Christian had a shot into the end zone on the last play of the game, but it was knocked away, and Beresford hangs on to win it 21-18.
That's a huge win for Beresford. They came out this year, had a couple tough losses right away, and for them to go on the road and beat a ranked team like this is going to get their season back on track.
Beresford still in 11B.
Right.
Falls Christian moved up to 11A this year, so big win for the Watchdogs tonight, 21-18. In 9-man football, 9B as a matter of fact, Dell St. Mary's and Alcester-Hudson have also been wiping people out. Dell St. Mary's closest game so far was a 17-point win against Castlewood. And started out right from the book of Eli, Jandy. Eli Longville for St. Mary's. with the touchdown there, but Jovi Christensen comes right back to make it an 8-6 ball game early. St. Mary's gives it to Peyton Park. And the Cardinals go up 16-6.
Yeah, the tackling wasn't there for Alcester-Hudson. This is their homecoming night. They were pumped up for a big game, but I'll tell you what, St. Mary's runs the ball tough.
Connor Libis with a touchdown, made it 24-6. Alcester-Hudson hanging right in there, though. Jackson Doring with the touchdown and a 2-point conversion. It was 24-14. And then St. Mary's started to roll. Libis again to make it 30-14. Eli Longville on another grab, 38-14. Weston Garrett's coming back to make kind of a Randy Moss catch there to make it 44-14. It was 52-14 at halftime. And St. Mary, the Cardinals get the 4-0, Jandy, 66-22 tonight. They have not had a close one so far this year, getting to 4-0.
Yeah, and that's a good win against a previously undefeated team. For them to put up 66, and their little run they had right before halftime really sprung them ahead of Alcester-Hudson. And defensively, they've given them a few touchdowns week after week, but the Cardinals, offensively have been dynamite.
St. Mary's number 2 right now in 9B. One game we didn't get to, Yankton and Pierre. We're going to get some highlights of that one, but Pierre is roughing people up.
Good.
Pierre beat Yankton tonight 63-0. We had Garrett Stout for 8 touchdowns. Pierre's quarterback, 4 rushing touchdowns, 4 passing touchdowns.
And I think we'll get Dells and Madison coming up in the next block, hopefully.
Yeah, really good game. Del Rapids knocks off Madison 14-13, so some highlights of that one coming up as well. And we'll get back to Jody with those highlights from North Dakota. Zone coverage coming up next, though. Some more coach comments from this evening.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Time for zone coverage. We'll throw it around a little bit, get some coach comments after tonight's ball games. And let's go back up to Fargo. Jody Norstead standing by there in West Fargo, Cheyenne. Fargo South kind of starting to separate themselves a little bit, along with Bismarck Century in the big schools up there. Jody, what's going on?
Yeah, it's fun to watch some of that, and it's fun because it was the conference opener. So we got to see EDC versus EDC, WDA versus WDA. We saw Mandan pick up a big win. So we'll see what the Braves can do here once the conference season starts rolling, because I was really high on that team coming in, just considering all that they've returned. In Century, we know that they're going to be tough all year, especially what they did in the non-conference season. And in the EDC, you look at South, Cheyenne, Davies, all in the mix. And Shanley, they played a really strong second half against South. We'll take a look at those highlights here in a bit. But in two-way, the story was 1 versus 2. Hillsboro-Central Valley was at number 1, and St. Mary's at number 2. St. Mary's had to make the trek over to Hillsboro-Central Valley, had to play out in the mud, and boy, the Burros really did a nice job of taking it to them. They win 20-7, but they get it done with defense and running the football.
I think we didn't start that well. We knew that Red River's a really good team. They got a great quarterback, and they're well coached, and I knew it was going to be a dogfight. I think we might have taken them lightly, and we just said, guys, let's go, and they responded in the second half.
All right, maybe we'll hear from Hillsboro-Central Valley in a minute. That was Jeremy Newton, the head coach of the Cheyenne Mustangs, reacting to that crazy win where they had to kind of come from behind against Red River. So they had a lot of respect for the Red River Rough Riders after what the Riders were able to do last week against the defending state champs from Bismarck. So Cheyenne picks up that big win. They stay undefeated, and we'll see what they can do as the season progresses. But I believe we do have the Hillsboro-Central Valley SOT here coming up here as Micah Gallagher and Coach Olson talking about that big win and the big push up front.
Our rushing attacks are amazing. We just got to thank the linemen up front. We knew if they had a great game today that we were going to win this game, and they did. They played amazing, and got to give all thanks to those guys. They're doing all the work up there.
First off, a lot of respect to that program we just played there. We're trying to replicate what they do and play tough defense, run the ball, and we figured that out 3 years ago when we played them. They beat us in the semis, and we said as a coaching staff we want to play like St. Mary's, and a lot of credit to coach over there, and we're just very proud of our guys.
Yeah, something tells me HCV didn't forget about that semifinal loss when it was their last game in 2A. So they get the win here. Now let's get to those long-awaited highlights and what really turned out to be the game of the night in Class 3A. Fargo South taking on Fargo Shanley. The Deacons walking in there. Troy Mattern, who told me earlier this week it was going to be an emotional return, going back to Fargo South where he led that team to a couple of state championships. Shanley officially back in the EDC. Bruins D, though, setting the tone early on the third play of the game. Sibamana Enoch picks off Cooper Mattern. Bruins in business. They capitalize. Enoch with a nice run. Loses the football. Lars Hagler, though, is going to be Johnny on the spot. There's Enoch taking it into the end zone. South up 13-0. Bruins keep it going in the second quarter. Peyton Kessel finds Bless Flomo. Look at the toe drag swag, 19 yards. Bruins cruising up 19-0. Shanley's defense forces a safety to make it 19-2. Mattern bobbles a snap here, gets to the outside, finds pay dirt, and now all of a sudden it's 19-9. The Bruins squash any momentum the Deacons hope to take into halftime, though. Enoch up top to Flomo. What a catch. What a play. Bruins ball at the Shanley 15 after Flomo's eventually taken down. 2 seconds left in the half. Bruins think they got it on the board. Enoch hits Jamal Spivey. However, this play is wiped out due to a false start. South gets one final play of the half, and they make it count. Enoch finds a wide open Robert Leslie. He finds the end zone. Bruins up 26-9 at half. Deacons come roaring back in the second half, though. The razzle-dazzle. Talon Hoffer on the jet sweep pass finds Henry Collins. And how did he catch this? Better yet, how did he stay on his feet? 62 yards. South up 26-16 now. Now in the fourth, Shanley scores again. Mattern plunges in. 26-23 South. It's a three-point game. Shanley with a chance to tie now. Emmett Kenny with the 46-yard attempt, but it goes just wide. He was so great last week. He was 3 for 3, but South holds on to win it 26-23. In a wild game, the Bruins remain unbeaten.
No, I think it was just on us. Mentally, we kind of broke down in the second half and kind of slowed down a little bit, but we'll get better as the season goes on.
We came out and didn't really execute in the second half, kind of kept in the game, and that's a darn good football team. So hats off to Coach Mattern and his crew. They battled all night long. We made some mistakes in the second half, didn't close it out. We're just really happy to get away with a win tonight.
Now, I stopped by Fargo South earlier this week. We're actually going to have them on our airwaves this Friday, next Friday, against West Fargo. But I talked to them, and they kept saying bubble team to me. And I was wondering why. I look back at my preseason rankings. I had them as a bubble team, and now they're the third-ranked team in state and just picked up a big win over fifth-ranked Shanley. So Fargo South about to burst some bubbles right now. They're looking really good.
You and Jandy always providing inspiration for these teams.
It's what we do.
Literally a nail biter there. Those highlights were awesome. Shanley's comeback almost.
And we get to see South when they come down here for the Curtis Rigg 7-on-7 camp, and they are one of the funniest teams you will ever see.
Bless you.
Isaiah Gates, character, and they have tons of them. And we'll get to introduce some 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 4 of their top players. We're going to introduce you to the guys that wear those numbers on Friday night at halftime.
All right. Cool. Thanks a lot, Jody. Have a good night. Bet. All right, back in South Dakota, let's get to this game between Madison and Del Rapids. Whew. And all the scoring was in the first half of this game, and it was close, and it was tight, and it was Madison at 2-0, and Dell's at 2-0.
Don't forget about the Couriers. Don't forget about them.
I haven't forgotten about them. There you go. Dell's at home tonight taking on Madison. Both teams 2-0. Madison's had a couple of close games early on. Dell's is taking care of Lennox and Flandreau. Logan Stone around the end with the first touchdown of the night, 7-0 Del Rapids.
They have so many Logans on this team.
Yeah.
Can't stop all the Logans.
Tyler Tapia to Jacob Unterbrunner. Ties it up 7-7 in the second quarter. And then Colin Rentz had a big night throwing the football, 237 yards passing. Mason Gakin with the catch there, 14-7. Dell's in the lead. Madison comes back with a Mason Avery touchdown. They missed the extra point there, and it was 14-13 at halftime. Madison had a touchdown in the third quarter, wiped out by a penalty. There was no scoring in the second half. Madison had the ball with about 3 minutes left, but Connor Rentz had an interception for Del Rapids. And the Warriors hang on and win tonight, 14-13.
No scoring in the second half of this ball game, and Del Rapids, what a huge win for that team. We'll see how high they move up in the polls.
And you see both of them, they have their 11 AA games coming up. Del Rapids will play Mitchell next week. Madison plays Brookings. Those games have been kind of interesting.
I think the Brookings-Madison one could be really good.
So far. All right, some zone coverage here, Jandy. Let's hear from some coaches. In 9AA, Viborg-hurley gets to 4-0 with a 46-12 win over Baltic.
Yeah, and Rob Kessler's done a fantastic job really turning this program around over the last couple of years. Last year finished 4-4, but you really felt like they were taking that step up, and he talked to us right after the game.
We came out the first half and we weren't hitting on all cylinders. We weren't blocking some things up right and just weren't ourselves, but came back the second half and our boys got after it and turned out right.
They got after it.
Yeah, it was 18-7 at halftime, and they end up winning 46-12.
They have another gear, and they showed it. Just tired out Baltic by the end of that game.
All right, Tri-Valley or T next? Let's go with
Vermilion.
Tri-Valley and Vermilion this evening. In 11A, Tri-Valley over Vermilion 20-7. Tri-Valley is off to a 3-0 start.
Yeah, and Steve Buzzada is a guy who's been coaching for Tri-Valley for 8 years now, and he took over for a championship coach, and he feels like they're turning a corner a little bit. They had to start a lot of guys last year that he really didn't want to start, but it's paying off dividends this season.
It's a confidence builder. That's exactly what we needed. And we worked a few things out. We got a long ways to go. Like you said, we're really getting into the meat of our schedule. So it's nice to be 3-0, but on the other hand, we're going to find out who we really are in the next few weeks.
And that's the difference. They still have a really tough schedule ahead of them. Great for them to get out to that 3-0 start, but they've got some real tests coming up in the next 3 weeks.
All right. Big schools, as we said, most of the 11 3A schools in South Dakota play on Saturday. President's Bowl is coming up 3:30. It'll be Sioux Falls Roosevelt and Sioux Falls O'Gorman. Jandy, Roosevelt's the #1 team. The Rough Riders are 2-0. O'Gorman 1-1 after a loss to Brandon Valley last night.
Yeah, and we had a chance to talk to some of the coaches at the media luncheon earlier this week, and here's what we found out. One of the early season hallmarks each season in South Dakota high school football is the President's Bowl, where 3 Sioux Falls public schools and usually O'Gorman mix it up for 2 of the best games of the year. And it's also where the Sioux Falls coaches do their best job of downplaying just how good they are.
You know, we're 2-0 and we beat 2 good teams, but we're not playing great yet.
We don't match up well with Roosevelt. Their size, their speed, their height, I mean, all of those are going to be issues for us.
We have a lot of young guys too. You know, we start 3 seniors on offense, the rest are sophomores and juniors, and some of those guys is the first time they've ever seen varsity football.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid one bit that they're young and inexperienced and not very good, so they're really good.
This year the first game features #1 Roosevelt and #3 O'Gorman. Rough Rider coach Kim Nelson hopes they're up for the challenge after a strong 2-0 start.
You know, O'Gorman's a tough opponent. They have always played us hard. They beat us last year 36-6 or something like that. So it's a big challenge for us to come back and bounce back from that. And so I think it's good that we're playing good teams early in the season to test where we are, but we certainly can't be satisfied. O'Gorman's going to be fast and athletic on defense and on offense, and you know, they can score from anywhere, and so we have to be ready to play a better game than we played the first 2.
O'Gorman was shell-shocked last week after getting up 7-0 on Brandon early. The Lynx stormed back for a convincing win at the Dakota Bowl. Coach Poppinga says the team is hungry to get back on track.
But, you know, our kids are excited to try to get back in the win column, and you know, it's always fun to play in the President's Bowl, so it's going to be an exciting week of practice for us. This is where we measure how good we really are football-wise, and you know, that's exciting for our kids, and it obviously tells us what we need to do and how to get better for, you know, a playoff run.
In Game 2, Washington hosts Lincoln in a battle of East Sioux Falls schools. The Warriors have a new-look team, but still have plenty of talent.
Our sophomore class and our junior class, I mean, we've got some talent in there, and so we're adapting to that. We're learning how to adapt to those guys. Our seniors are doing a great job, the leadership. And so we adapt to our guys who we have, and we'll put the ball in the hands of the playmakers.
Their rival, Lincoln, is showing signs of improvement, according to Washington head coach Chad Statham.
Lincoln's a lot better, way a lot better. Last year they were beat up by the time we faced them at the end of the year. And a lot of those guys are healthy. And this is a class that they felt that a few years ago that this could be their chance to have a championship type team. And this senior class of theirs is very, very talented. And like you said, he doesn't start any sophomore on the team. I think we start 6 or 7. So we're kind of on the opposite end right now. But you know what? We're not making excuses. We're going to go play a football game, and what happens, happens.
Lincoln coach Jared Fredenberg is now in his 3rd year at the helm, and his players are starting to take the lead in adapting to the new culture.
Really all they've known is me, and so it's that they know how I operate. They know what practice is going to be like. They know what's expected. They know what they can get away with, what they can't, and how we're gonna just operate. And so they're buying in. And these groups, there's only 15 of them, but they're all in. They're leaders, and when somebody else is maybe testing those boundaries or doing things that hey, we don't do that here anymore, they straighten it out. And it's amazing when the kids control the culture, that's when things really start happening, and that's what's happening right now.
All right, going to be good. Roosevelt O'Gorman at 3:30, and then the night game is Washington and Lincoln. And 2 things out of that: Lincoln is very much improved from a year ago.
They are improved. They need a signature win. And I'm not sure if this win if they could win tomorrow, if that's a signature win, because Washington is not what they were a couple of years ago. But it's important because Lincoln needs a win against another Sioux Falls team. Since Fredenberg's been there, they need one of those signature wins.
The other thing is, if Roosevelt can play any better than they are, they're going to be untouchable.
What is that, Kim Nelson?
Yeah, maybe he's right. I don't know.
He beat the #1 team in the state by several touchdowns, and then took care of Lincoln last week. I don't know what else they're supposed to do.
They are loaded. Roosevelt, #1, taking on O'Gorman at 3:30. Washington and Lincoln supposed to kick off at 7 o'clock. And then there's 2 other games. Rapsy Stevens is at Harrisburg at 6 o'clock. Harrisburg's off to that 2-0 start since they moved up into the big class in South Dakota. And then Aberdeen Central's out at Brandon Valley. Both those teams at 1-1. That game's at 7 o'clock.
There you go. A couple good ones.
Saturday evening. When we come back, the rundown, one big play from all of tonight's games, and we'll get you set for some college football here on Midco Sports Network coming up on Saturday. Well, welcome back. Here's the rundown, the recap of the night. Jandy, T over West Central, 21-0 in 11A in South Dakota.
Oh, their defense is so good. Shut down West Central. Big night.
Viborg-hurley, we heard from their head coach as they are 4-0 now after the win over Baltic 36-12.
Angel Johnson, touchdown right there.
Del Rapids knocks off Madison tonight, 14-13.
Another great defensive performance. Madison was lighting people up with the pass. Didn't score in the second half.
Big win for Beresford, 21-18 on the road at Sioux Falls Christian.
We got to start talking about Brad Christensen. What a leader. They've had some injuries on this team. He's led them to victory.
Dell's St. Mary rolls up 66 on Alcester-Hudson tonight.
Big win for St. Mary as they really proved they belong at #2 in the polls in Class 9B.
Our televised game of the night, Tri-Valley is 3-0 after a win over Vermilion.
And how about that? Coming off a 1-win season last year, now 3-0.
North Dakota, big matchup, #1 over #2, Hillsboro-Central Valley with the win tonight. New Salem-Glen Olin over Dickinson.
Dickinson Trinity.
Thompson falls to Oaks. First loss for the Tommies after moving up to 11-man football, 37-12 there. This was the game of the night. Fargo South got out to the big lead. Shanley came back. Bruins hang on and win it there. West Fargo Cheyenne.
Closer than it looked.
Is looking good in the big schools up there. They get off to a 3-0 start after the win over Red River tonight. Kindred over Hazen, 36-7. Minot and Mandan, close game as well. Mandan hangs on. They get to 2-1 on the season with the win over the Magi. And Bismarck, first win of the year for the Demons as they beat Williston tonight, 28-14.
Back on track. Demons are back on track.
Kidder County rolls it up on Napoleon-G-S this evening in North Dakota. College football starting at 1 o'clock. We got 3 games. At South Dakota State, at USD, at North Dakota, coming up on Saturday afternoon.
Just watch Midco Sports all the time.